Welcome back to Flashpoint. It'll be up to leaders in Raleigh to decide if a sales tax gets on the ballot to help fund big transit projects here in Charlotte. And at least one Republican senator says she's having active conversations with city leadership. But so far, she says she's not seen a lot of progress. Joining us now is North Carolina Republican Senator Vickie Sawyer, who represents both North Mecklenburg and Iredell counties. Senator, thanks for coming on Flashpoint. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
As you know, the transit plan is so large, it's going to require buy-in from regional stakeholders and Republicans in the General Assembly. You checked both those boxes. So the first question is honestly a really simple, basic one. Have you personally heard from Charlotte City leaders about the transit plan and the penny sales tax that would be required to pay for it? Any of those things?
Well, to Mayor Lyle's credit, she has reached out to me on several occasions, maybe about once every quarter, every 6 months, in regards to their request to continue the transit plan. Of course, Tark Bakare has been a constant bug in the ear, and as well as Councilman Ed Griggs. They all three have really been working hard to make sure that I stay in the loop.
Okay, that's encouraging for folks who are fans of some sort of transit plan. That's encouraging. So then the next question, the logical question is, do you think we're making any progress on the issue?
No. No.
Well, that was a simple answer. Why so, though?
Well, I mean, we continue to listen and hear from the work groups within the city council that there's not one unified voice. We hear that maybe people want to do roads first, others want to do transit first. And then you put all that into the soup, and then you hear that there's issues with cats. So it just seems like there is a mismatch of priorities in the city of Charlotte in regards to transit, and it really does need to be one plan.
So you answer some of it there, but what would you like to see happen before you're going to feel comfortable representing your constituents and supporting something like this? What needs to happen?
Well, for me, I've made a very clear request to the communities that I represent in North Mech, and that is they're going to have full buy-in from their mayors and their board in order to support any type of tax. So from the very beginning, for me, it's all about the local control and the local control of those mayors and council folks that I represent in North Mecklenburg.
You mentioned the roads first thing, and that's something Republicans have been pushing for. How do you balance that, though? I mean, you're personally affected by this. You're not some far off, lawmaker in Raleigh. You're affected by this. The red line would serve folks in your district. So how do you reconcile, a roads first, which Tim Moore has indicated he wants, the former House Speaker there in Raleigh, and also understanding that rail is the most expensive and largest part about this?
Well, very simply, there is no deal. There has not been a deal with Norfolk Southern. And this is the same deal that has been touted and sold and told to us, especially in South Iredell, North Mecklenburg. Gosh, from the time that I can remember, maybe the last 15 years, as a resident of this area for nearly 30 years, graduate of UNC Charlotte, I live in Mooresville. I-77 is the front porch or the front driveway for most of us in this community. And we have been told year after year that there will be some deal with the red line, and we just really frankly haven't seen any movement there. I do hear positive things are coming out, but I also heard that last year, and I also heard that the year before. So we are a community that have had 20 years of broken promises, going all the way back to finishing the 485 North Beltline, to the toll roads, and now to the red line. So quite frankly, I just have to see it before I believe it.
City leaders have toyed with your all's emotions over transit for the better part of 2 decades, going back to sales tax back then, I think in the late 90s as well. You mentioned Norfolk Southern. The big development there, for folks who don't know, is that the plan called for sharing tracks with Norfolk Southern. Unlike the blue line, which needed some new tracks, or say a silver line, which would need new tracks, this would basically share the same right of way, which is a huge deal as far as just construction and getting it implemented. Last year, Norfolk Southern, after saying otherwise for years, said, hey, you know what? We might be able to work with you guys, and we might be able to let you share the lines with us, which would completely change everything. But from what you're saying, it doesn't seem like that's gone any further.
Not that I'm aware of. And so I have tried to keep my nose out of it because I'm not one of the parties that is in those negotiations. So I don't want to mess things up. I have not heard from any of the leaders, either side, between Norfolk Southern or from the city of Charlotte, that there's any movement in that area. And again, as you just stated, we've had a history, decades of histories of broken promises, and I don't see that this one is going to come to fruition anytime soon, unless there's something that I just don't know.
I know the mayor has said she watches this program. I know other city leaders watch this program. I know you've spoken to some of them in the past, but if they're watching right now, what is the one thing that needs to happen for the General Assembly to approve this and speed up this whole process?
Well, truly, this is about local control and the city of Charlotte's transportation vision and where they want to move forward. The General Assembly is there to help and aid one of our largest, if not the largest city in economic development in North Carolina, and transportation is a huge deal about that. You've seen significant investments from Raleigh into Charlotte, and we will continue to advocate for those. But we do need a regional approach to transportation. And when I say regional, that doesn't mean the city of Charlotte region. That does include Union County and Iredell and Cabarrus and Lincoln and those other surrounding areas that we all use the city of Charlotte's roadways. That is what I believe, and I think what Speaker Moore meant is about the roads first, because although these red lines and silver lines and blue lines are very attractive for an area, it only helps one certain area. It doesn't really have that regional approach that we're looking for to be able to live, work, and play in the Charlotte area.
A really illuminating conversation that I think folks, especially here in Charlotte, need to hear. All right, Senator Vickie Sawyer, thanks for coming on and chatting with us. We appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Next up on Flashpoint, juvenile crime on the rise here in Charlotte. Efforts to get this crisis under control.